So I know in the well-being space, there's quite a lot of discussion around self-care. And often there's messaging around improving self-care. I wanted to address this in an earnest way because self-care has been a hard-won battle for me. And I think that for many people it is, including individuals with mental health issues. So I grew up, my parents gave me a great education, thank you both, really good health care, but they did not have good self-care strategies, they still don't, and they were really focused on me being successful because they believed that would give me the best chance in life. I don't think because they didn't want me to be happy. But I really had no idea how to engage in any behaviors that would support my body, much less my mind, for which I had to do so much meditation to understand it and to work with it more effectively. And I grew up in the 90s, the era of heroin chic, living in Manhattan. Everyone I knew had disordered eating and some serious eating disorders. I myself had disordered eating, like everyone else around me. I wanted to be super skinny, and so I would reduce my caloric intake. I actually no longer knew or had any sense of what hungry felt like. I remember the first time I felt hungry, probably in my late 20s, and I was like, oh, this is why people get moody when they haven't eaten. It was a revelation for me. And I think I'm still very much in process. But I wanted to share some of the things that I've done over the years that have made it easier for me to take care of myself a little bit more. And I also want to highlight that I spiritual bypassed for a long time through self-care. Buddhism teaches about the existence of non-self, or the non-existence of self. So when I first went to the monastery, my meditation teacher would say, what are you doing to keep yourself healthy and well? And I said, there is no self to take care of. What are you talking about? And he'd say, Heather, you believe there's a self, you're not enlightened, what are you doing? And I decided that that was an unimportant part of the meditation. I think it's taken time to get older. You know, the body does break down. It's not the same as it was when I was meditating at 23. And to really start to develop a sense of kindness almost organically through yoga for this. But I'll tell you where I started, and this probably sounds really silly, flossing, right? Flossing is where I started. I hate flossing my teeth. You probably don't like flossing your teeth either. And I was unwilling to begin it until a friend of mine told me that inflammation in the gums can lead to cardiovascular disease, or it can contribute to it, not really lead to it, so that I better start flossing. And I would do it so intermittently. It took me years to discipline myself and say, I will do it again this morning, even if I'm in a rush, even if I don't like it. Another thing I started to do was at night, before I went to bed, when there was nothing else that needed to get done, because I was taught that you need to take care of the external world and make sure you're going to be safe and you're going to survive well before you worry about what's happening internally. So that was such a hard pattern for me to change. So simply closing my eyes at night as I was going to sleep and just feeling my body breathing and enjoying that process. I think many of you know how much I like my breath. Then there was the meeting of this doctor in Thailand who said to me, do you know that food is medicine? It was a revelation to me. It sounds obvious, right? You're nourishing yourself that way. But I genuinely had never thought of food in that kind of perspective. So I don't do this all the time, but taking an opportunity before one eats and before I eat to just pay reverence to the food and to really think about the impact it's going to have on my mental well-being. Still addicted to sugar, but you know, self-care is also being a little bit forgiving. And then another really important thing, which I think we all need to consider, is self-care doesn't mean indulgence all the time. It doesn't mean saying, you know what, I don't feel like doing this today, so I'm not going to. I don't feel like taking care of myself, I'm just going to lie in bed. Self-care is also being disciplined about taking care of oneself, even when we don't want to. So I could go on and on. I've been going on and on. But I do suggest considering the intake of your food and maybe, as we've done in the past, blessing it. Floss your teeth or choose one thing every day that you're going to do that stands for your self-care and build on it. And before you go to bed at night, where there's nothing else to do but be with yourself, rather than being with racing thoughts, just feel your body breathing. And as the mind goes off and drifts away, bring it back until you fall to sleep. I'd love to hear from others of you on your self-care journey. Namaste.